Hi, I'm Chuck Colson with this week's 2-minute warning. Most people, particularly in the era we live in of relativism, have no concept of what conscience is. Many think often that it's a feeling or an emotion. Well, if that's so, then the most dangerous thing you can say in today's society is let your conscience be your guide. Because if your conscience is nothing more than your feelings, what's to prevent you from doing something horribly wrong so long as you feel okay about it? So, what is conscience? The word comes from the Latin consciente, which means with knowledge. That presupposes that there is some objective knowledge, some objective standard of right and wrong. And until a conscience is informed by objective standards of right and wrong, it is nothing. Even worse, it can be downright dangerous. I recently read a fascinating article about Hitler, written by a psychiatrist who said Hitler really believed he was doing the right thing because he was purifying the human race. So he committed genocide with a completely clear conscience. Folks, that's frightening. Now, all human beings have a conscience. The great 19th century theologian John Cardinal Newman called conscience the voice of God in the nature and heart of man. Or put another way, God's eternal law as apprehended in the minds of individual men. We know from Scripture, however, that our consciences can be seared. Paul is quite clear in Romans that even though humans are able to know the truth and to know what can be known about God, we can suppress the truth by our wickedness. Our minds and thinking become darkened. The key, therefore, is to form a conscience and inform it and train it and mold it. And the principal institution for forming the conscience is the family, then the church. It's so critical that our families and the church get this right. Conscience must be informed by objective knowledge so that we can learn to do good instead of doing evil. But think about the other institutions that help form conscience. Schools, the media, government. For the most part, they've fallen prey to relativism, the notion that there is no absolute objective truth, and that the only moral guide for our behavior is, well, our own individual and sadly unformed consciences. Even in the 19th century, Newman saw the danger in redefining conscience. Conscience, he wrote, is a stern monitor, but it has been superseded by a counterfeit, which the 18 centuries prior to it never heard of and could not have mistaken for it if they had. It's the right of self-will. In other words, too many people today think that their consciences are a blank check, a permission slip for any kind of behavior. We can do bad and still feel good about it. I can't think of any single thing more dangerous. This is why Professor Robbie George and I teach about informing conscience and cultivating character in our new DVD teaching series on ethics called Doing the Right Thing. It's urgent that we learn these lessons, and I've seen too little teaching about this anywhere today. But you can learn about ethics. You can do it. You can learn about ethical decision-making, and you can teach it to your family and to your church. You can get a copy of Doing the Right Thing right here at colsoncenter.org. This really is urgent. I'm Chuck Colson. That's this week's 2-Minute Warning.